Text the show at 573-875-KTGR. The Big Show starts now.
You bet it does. Welcome into Wednesday's edition of The Big Show on your total sports station, KTGR. Andy Humphrey, Brenden Schaefer here. And what a day it is. We get to speak with Matt Hamilton, our good friend over at FanDuel TV today. He's going to tell us about his take on the Chiefs so far and the NFL in general. It's also a great day because we update, Brenden, the SEC football tiers. And there's a movement at the top, I would have to predict, for how things went.
Yeah, I think we'll probably have some changes. I mean, you had some big-time notable games taking place, a couple in particular, and maybe we decide there is some distance between some of these teams that even our top couple of tiers have felt pretty bunched together. Maybe that'll still be the case, but it'll be fun to dig into.
Yeah, 505. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we'll get to it at 505. And also, specifically for Mizzou, in a few minutes, we want you to give us the letter grade for the season so far. I know it's only been 5 games, and they're not the hardest 5 games that Mizzou will play this year, but what's the letter grade as they have gone 5-0 to this point? Tell us your letter grades for Mizzou at 875-KTGR. You can also tweet them at us at KTGR Big Show. You can leave comments on our YouTube channel at KTGR Sports. We're live now right there. Be sure to subscribe to us if you haven't already. And also, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/KTGR Big Show. How about this? We are one more step away from it being a completely sold out home football schedule for Mizzou. The Mississippi State game announced as a sellout earlier this afternoon. That's now 7 of 8 sellouts for the Tigers in 2025. The streak is 18 games after they host Alabama next weekend. The only game that's left that's not sold out yet is the Texas A&M game against the Aggies on November 8th. So once that's sold out, the streak will extend to 20 consecutive sellouts at Memorial Stadium dating back to 2023, and that would set a program record. So we'll see if that one gets sold out anytime soon. But Mississippi State, they're out of tickets for that one, Mizzou Athletics says, and that is the Big Show's big deal on this first day of October 2025. You can call or text us here at 875-KTGR to give us your Mizzou thoughts. We'll have our SEC football tiers at 505 and Matt Hamilton joining us at 425. But what is your letter grade for Mizzou heading into their bye week? What would you give it after a 5-0 start? All the non-conference games out of the way now. Most of them were pretty much cakewalks. There's one conference game to judge on at this point. So it may be like, look, it's close to the midseason for Mizzou. They've played nearly half their games. After they play Alabama, they will have played half of their regular season, but we're close to it, Brenden. And so midseason grade essentially for Mizzou in the easier half of their 2025 regular season.
Yeah, and really, I mean, you're talking about still being able to evaluate what 3 of the games looked like, but 3 of the games were really not games. I mean, they weren't competitive. They weren't supposed to be, and we can evaluate them for the fact that they weren't, which is good. Like, you didn't have any scares that you weren't supposed to have. They looked really dominant against Louisiana. You didn't look as good, to my eyes anyway, against UMass, but still the score ended up looking pretty good. And, you know, you played your FCS and you pummeled them, and that's what you're supposed to do. So they don't earn a lot toward the grade, I think, from any of those games, but they don't get docked either. It's just they handled their business. They handled it pretty much how they were supposed to. You think about the 2 games otherwise, South Carolina and Kansas, both close games, both competitive, trailed in both, and then found a way in the end to not only win, but to win by more than a possession in both games. So it's interesting. Like, you're trying to balance as you come up with a grade. I think relative to expectations is always how I look at some of these types of conversations. And, you know, I would say that my hope certainly was for this team to be 5-0. My expectation was for this team to be 5-0, but even if you expect it, to actually see it fulfilled, I think is another gear compared to just going, all right, we're looking at the schedule. Yeah, South Carolina, kind of a coin flip, but think you can win it. Kansas should be a win, but you got to actually do it. Impressed, certainly, by the way they've started.
I'm saying A-. I think it's hard not to give an A. I suppose you can say, look, they haven't played the schedule that they are going to end up playing here. It's going to get a whole lot tougher, and you might, okay, but they haven't played that schedule yet. I don't know what else to do, right? When you win all your games, you certainly can't be any lower than a B+ in my book. But I even think Mizzou has probably earned a little bit more than just that. Yes, we're judging mostly on the 2 Power 4 games that they have played, and that propels a lot forward what we think of this team. It shouldn't count nothing the way that they have handled their business in the other games, though. Like Central Arkansas had no hope. Louisiana had no hope. UMass had no hope. Nitpicking, obviously, we can do and like see what areas they need to improve this team here. But I say A- because of the fact that, look, like you can look a little bit differently in those games that Mizzou did against UMass and Central Arkansas and Louisiana. How do we feel about Texas, the way that they have handled similar games to this point? Like, probably dock a little bit because of how they still won the game, but did not do so as convincingly as I'm sure a lot of people would have hoped. Like the fact that you just poured it on by at least 35 points in every single game, like that's something that is at least noteworthy, and you haven't given anyone an opportunity to dock you for it. And so for that matter, I give them a little bit more credit for it. And then obviously the way they handled their business against South Carolina and Kansas is into like, they're not the toughest opponents that Mizzou will face this year, obviously, but both of them had every bit of motivation, every ability to go into your building and take a win from you. And they showed that by leading for several portions of the game. So I come out of that thinking, look, it's not only the fact that you won the games, but it's also the fact that you've got a clear identity coming out of them. And there are many questions answered. I had questions about Bo Prabula coming into the season. I don't really anymore. I had questions about what this team was going to be leaning its back upon when things get tough, when they hit adversity. And it's okay, well, just give the ball to Ahmad Hardy or Jamal Roberts. They'll stabilize things, or stop it, get a 3 and out by shutting down every single running play that your opponent tries to run. The fact that they have come out with a very clear blueprint of how they want to handle every single game through the first 5, and they have the quarterback that can look, he's not the best in the country, but he is one that can elevate your offense in certain situations. And I'm excited to see what that looks like in the tougher SEC games for him. So for me, I say it might be a little generous, but I say A-.
Yeah, and I mean, I might just be a plain old A, because
okay,
I don't know really where I'm knocking them. They've handled their business. They were dominant against the nobody opponents. And, you know, like there's individual parts of the team that I think we can be worried about moving forward. You know, we don't know what it's going to look like when they really need to make a kick, and they might need multiple kicks in a game because they'd stall out at the 30-yard line. Like they haven't really done that very much at all through 5 games. So we just haven't seen a lot of needing it. And so there are questions about what it might look like the next time. But it's, you know, the one time that I think they really did need it was the 40-yarder against South Carolina. And in that moment, they got it. So I'm not really going to do any projecting with this, because we're not talking about what happens in games 6 through 12. We're talking about the first 5 games. So if that's the measure, then I'm okay with knowing that, look, there's still some stuff we got to see, but that's not really what the basis is for this kind of grade, in my opinion. And the same thing I'll say about the secondary. Like there are moments individually where I'm like, man, this feels like it's going to haunt you, but it hasn't at this point. And so there's every opportunity, especially with a bye week coming up, to fix some of those things. And I don't think it gets easier, your schedule really, if we're thinking about Mizzou as a college football playoff caliber team, which it's now appropriate to do, like that's the goal, that's the target at this point, because you passed steps 1 and 2 of Kansas and South Carolina to allow you to now put yourself in a position to welcome Alabama into your building. And, if you beat them, you're talking about some difficult road tests that you still have, but you're in the driver's seat to make the playoff because you can afford a couple of losses down the stretch and still be really in a good spot. So, it's an A for me. You mentioned the identity. I think this is the exact identity I expected this Mizzou team to have. I think I hoped for the defense to be just maybe a little bit more secure in that regard, but you think about stopping the run, they do that very well, maybe as well as anybody in the country. You think about running the football, they do that about as well as anybody in the country. And that's what I was saying all summer is this is going to be a very run-based offense that runs the ball really well, ball control, leans on its defense, and puts Bo Prabula in positions where he doesn't have to be the hero. What will be interesting to see is in the moments where he is requested or required to be more of the hero, what does he do? Because we haven't quite been in a spot like that, especially down in crunch time. They've executed so well in crunch time, but they've always had that little bit of a cushion. By the time you really roll around to the end of it, I guess you could say not maybe applicable in the Kansas game where you were trailing it until late, but it's not like we had to see a 2-minute drill driving for the win. Brady Cook had to do a lot of those, and we haven't maybe seen that just yet, but we haven't had to. That's good. But I'm not going to dock Prabula for anything because in the moments where he's been asked to lead an offense down the field because you need a score, they've pretty much gotten it. So I'm pretty much just in an A position. I'll say though, there's plenty of room to go down from here because your schedule is really just beginning. I don't think you've played the toughest team on your schedule yet. I don't think you've played the second, third, fourth, fifth toughest team on your schedule yet. In terms of the caliber of game that you're going to have to face, every road game, maybe even including Arkansas, is going to be more difficult than the most difficult game you've had so far. A&M will be more difficult than the most difficult game you've had so far, and so will Alabama. Maybe even Mississippi State. However you feel about Mississippi State versus South Carolina versus Kansas. I think South Carolina, better team than Kansas. I think South Carolina may not be as good as Mississippi State even. So there's a lot of room to decline in this if they don't continue looking like they've looked so far when they play future competition that really ramps up. But I don't have anything negative to say really at this point because they've done what they had to do against the teams they had to play.
The reason I maybe still favor South Carolina over Mississippi State is that because of the quarterback play, and you talk about where Mizzou's weakness is, it's over the top. Lenora Sellers has every ability to make huge plays there. I don't know if Blake Shapen does, but to that point also, it will be a lot tougher because Mizzou faces a bunch of really tough quarterbacks coming up. Pavia, Ty Simpson, Marcel Reed. There will be some very interesting ones that the Tigers have to deal with here. So, I mean, from that aspect, Taylor Green also. It's
can't ignore that.
It's gonna be something that you still have to shore up on the back end to feel really good about your chances. But go 5-2 the rest of the way, and you should be in a postseason position. Yeah.
You'll be in the playoff if you go 5-2.
875-KTGR, call or text us here. Give us your letter grade for Mizzou. Up to this point, 5 games in, they've been 5-0. Let's go to Matey here on the KTGR hotline to give his letter grade. Matey, how are you, my friend?
Fine, how you do? I have the 2 simple questions because, I don't know nothing. You, special Brenden, know everything. A plus, whatever. First question, when Andy, you mentioned they sold out. Does that mean they sell the ticket? Is that right?
Mizzou says that they have sold out of their of the tickets they sell.
Andy, Mizzou said a lot of things. I went to that game. They moved the noon. I'm part of the organization. 55 was not there. Homecoming hour was 75. It was not sold out in the day. Sold, but people went to hoo-hoo. Did you watch this past week? They got put 112,000. You could not see anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been to this studio. I've been to Michigan, but anyway, that's really need to be so. Second question, you're talking. What did you give them? Andy,
I said A minus. I said A minus. Brenden says an A.
I know. I told you last year. Brenden said 14-0, 6-0 now. I give them B minus because the way they play. Look at I watch all of this game SEC. You better wake up, Brenden. You didn't tell me what is Missouri going to say, 14-0 or 16-0. Come on, Brenden, buddy, tell me something.
No, I said 11-1. That was my prediction to begin the year.
He was more modest this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Take it for what it is. I'm not backing down. Like, I think that's the thing is I came in saying 11-1. I haven't seen it. They have not showed me any reason to waver from that. I came in saying this would be a college football playoff team. They've not given me any reason to waver from that. Is it optimistic? Yeah. The win total in Las Vegas was 7.5.
Right.
I hope you bet the over. I did.
Yeah, that is going to be.
I think they're going to get there.
Yeah.
And look, I wouldn't say for sure. You could lose 5 of the next 7 games and go 7-5. You could. Am I predicting that? No. But that's what's so interesting about the schedule and where they're at. It is a very rugged schedule. Whatever people might have said about it before the season, it is. And they have handled their business to this point to allow us to really kind of stay anchored to whatever we might have thought about them before the season. If you're very high on the team, I don't think they've given you any reason not to be very high on the team. Alabama is going to be your new bellwether game. It really is. And you're not going to be favored in the game. You know, the sports books will have you projected to lose this football game. I'm very confident in that. Might be a small number. I hope it is. But that's going to be the projection. But to this point, I mean, Kansas, yeah, you know what? It's a rivalry game. I'm not going to look at it and dock them because they only won the game by 11 points or whatever and had to have a late touchdown just to kick it up to that. I'm not going to dock them for South Carolina. These are spirited games. There's an opposing program that thinks it means the world to their program to win this game as well. It changes the projection and the trajectory of their season if they can win this game as well. Guess what? Those two teams came into Columbia, Missouri, and they did not leave with a win. So I'm every reason to be optimistic. If they get popped by Alabama, like they got popped in Tuscaloosa last year, we're going to be having a very different conversation on that following Monday. That's just the reality of it. But Eli Drinkwitz and his team have given me no reason not to buy in at this point. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And if there is any reason to doubt, and say, look, they've answered every question so far, and now they've got a bye week to prepare for answering the next one. And if they do, you're talking about one of the very best teams in the country. And that's kind of where I sit with this Mizzou team right now. Andy, it's like the extension of me always saying, in August, I love Eli Drinkwitz, and I think Mizzou's going to be perfect. And then we get into the season. We have to evaluate the games. They haven't had one game yet. We're to October. They haven't had one game yet where I look at it and go, oh, no, it's not what I thought it was.
Right.
Nope. In fact, as tough as I probably thought in my head this team to be based on what we saw from it last year, you go, okay, they're going to change some pieces and parts out. They couldn't have that same identity. There's no way they'll be as tough, hard-nosed, underdog spirit, willing to go to the very end of a game and find a way to win it more times than not, almost every time outside of the South Carolina game. Surely they won't be that strong in their identity again this year. They might even be more so. Their ability so far to execute in those key moments has been astounding. So if Mady thinks or anybody else thinks that I'm, wearing the black and gold goggles, that's okay. But I'm just going to evaluate that. I think if they can win Alabama, you're really talking about something special here. And even if they don't, there is margin for error. That being said, I think the road games now are so much more difficult than what we thought they would be when the season began, that if you don't win Alabama, I do think you are very much at risk for being left out of the playoff and maybe just finishing 9-3, 8-4. This Alabama game, defend home turf. I mean, this is everything at this point. You pass step 1, you pass step 2. I've not wavered on it one single time. This is step 3. This is to announce yourself as a contender to the college football universe.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. James says, my letter grade so far is a B. I mean, I'm kind of the belief, though, that when you check every box and you actually look pretty good doing it, all things considered. Bill Connolly's got Mizzou. It's not necessarily Bill Connolly. It's his SP Plus that he plugs in. It's a computer, and it spits out the results. Mizzou's number 7 in the country, man, according to SP Plus. Like, that is indicative of how they have played, how they have been efficient on both sides of the football. Is it perfect? No.
Considering the opponent,
right.
Considering, yes, they played their games at home, but they're still they're doing the things that would indicate that they're that type of team. The data will get a huge influx of valuable information when they play a team like Alabama because they haven't seen one yet. They've seen 2 solid opponents, and they haven't seen one good one or a great one. And Alabama, I think, is in the great category. I don't know where SP Plus has the Tide, but I imagine after Georgia, it's pretty damn high.
Yeah, he's got them. He's got them, if not 1, then very close to 1. Actually, I think he had Oregon 1. That makes sense.
Which is fair.
Which has that.
More impressive win, by the way, last weekend. Was it Oregon or was it Alabama? Considering what we know about what we think we know about Penn State and Georgia, where would you land on that?
I'd actually say it was Oregon, considering the environment.
I'm giving the environment boost.
Yeah. And I just, it's also maybe more of a knock towards the Georgia side,
which is crazy because Penn State's the team that can never beat anybody. But I'm agreeing with you. I think Oregon's win is more impressive by a hair.
Yeah, because that was still a game that Penn State could very easily have had in their bag, and they just for whatever reason didn't make the last play. Well, here's
James Franklin is their coach.
You want to know something, Brenden? You want to know something? Alabama's actually 10 in SP Plus. They're behind Mizzou.
Well, the Florida State game counts. I mean, it's true. You know what I mean? I'm sure everything that's a data point there is going to be plugged into SP Plus, and you have to consider something like that. And look, where's Georgia? Because
Georgia is 16.
I think we anchor to Georgia as, and I will bet you Penn State is higher than 16.
Penn State is 4.
Yes. So I think SP Plus would agree that the more impressive win from the previous weekend, Oregon on the road, both road wins. I just feel like Georgia, we're anchored to the Kirby Smart of it all. We're anchored to what we're used to Georgia being. And I'm not here to determine that they're not going to be that same Georgia this year. But, you needed overtime to beat Tennessee, who is a really good team, but has some flaws on defense. And you fell short, against Alabama in your own building. So there's reason to believe that maybe this Georgia that we prop up is more of a 9-3 team this year. We'll see what they end up being. They better thank their stars they were able to win that game in overtime against Tennessee, because they would really be talking about, can we make the playoff at this point? And the margin for that was very slim. So that's why it's like Mizzou hasn't had that game yet. And if Mizzou loses 31-17 to Alabama, all this stuff about being a top 10 team and maybe even a playoff team is going to have to be put on the back burner until you evaluate, okay, what happened in that game to cause that result? Because this Alabama team went into Georgia and won. They're going to try to come into your place and do the same thing. I think Missouri has the ability to beat Alabama, but we're going to have to evaluate it for what happens and change our opinions as a result of that game.
Man, Georgia's schedule, it's almost like they've gotten through the tough part already.
You think?
They have Ole Miss and Texas on there, but they're both at home.
Right.
They host Georgia Tech this year. I know that largely doesn't matter much, but it's in
does
your home,
for playoff, not for SEC.
Building.
But if they lose a game and they've got cocktail party, and that's I get it. You're not expecting them to lose. They have to go to Starkville. I'm just telling you, it's not going to be easy for anybody to go into Starkville this year and win a football game. It's just not.
But they still have Mississippi State and Florida and Kentucky on the schedule at Auburn.
I just said that. I'm telling you, that's not a gimme. No, those aren't. Kentucky's a gimme.
Kentucky's a gimme.
That is a gimme.
They've got a gimme this weekend. They'll be fine.
That's the only one though. Charlotte, they play another non-con there. Georgia Tech, Haynes King. We saw that game last year go down to the wire, and I think it's in Atlanta this year. It was one of the best games of the college football season. How many overtime 2-point conversions did they attempt? I don't even remember. But I wish almost for Mizzou's sake that Georgia would have lost to Tennessee now that we're looking at it, because I don't think Tennessee has enough games left to lose to knock them below 10-2. So I would have rather Tennessee just been a kind of a fraudulent 11-1 or 12-0, and Georgia would be the team that could actually be left out. But without losing the Tennessee game, now you kind of do need them to lose one of these games that they're not expecting to, because it's almost like they're going to be up for Ole Miss and they're going to be up for Texas. I don't really think they lose either of them. But you're going to get to a counting game when we get into late October and go, now, wait a second. I'm looking at remaining schedules. There's going to be more 10-2 teams this year in the SEC than we're used to, unless we get that chaos. And that's what you still have to root for, I think, a little bit as a Mizzou fan. But 98% of Mizzou's rooting right now, we'll keep doing the rooting guide. 98% of it is Missouri Tiger football getting the job done where they need to.
So tell us what you think of Mizzou so far. Give us a letter grade for the first 5 weeks, 875-KTGR. Again, very interesting what we'll do with the SEC football tiers at 5:05. But until then, we'll roll along here on the big show with Matt Hamilton joining us next of FanDuel TV. Used to be with the Mizzou football program, but has gone on and done some great things in sports media, especially with the NFL. And he'll talk all things Chiefs and NFL with us when we return on the big show, KTGR.
The Big Show with Andy and Brenden continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hey, it's Andy and Brenden back for Underdog Fantasy, where you can select entries and win money on your football predictions right now in Missouri. Andy, we're in full swing with football season, and I know you're having a blast on Underdog.
Yeah, Brenden, getting set for the Thursday night game here, trying to look at who I think might be getting the most receiving yards in this game. I don't know if he'll get the most receiving yards, but I like the projection here for Devontae Adams. It's at 54.5 receiving yards, so I like higher for him. And I'm pairing that with some postseason baseball tonight, Brenden. Yoshi Yamamoto going to have higher than 6.5 strikeouts tonight for the Dodgers.
And that's what's great about Underdog. If you're a fan of multiple sports, you can do that to build your entries, especially in a crossover month like October with so much going on. And of course, if you get your entries right on Underdog, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So download the app today. Sign up with promo code KTGR to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code KTGR. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Shangri-La is proud to be a part of every black and gold home game this season at the Zimmer Tiger Tailgate. Swing by our tent to play games, win prizes, and hang out with Missouri's top team of cannabis aficionados. Want to join the fun? Pick up your free Tiger Tailgate tickets at any Shangri-La location. Then come find us on game day. We'll be bringing the energy, the prizes, and the community spirit that makes Tiger football unforgettable. Shangri-La Dispensaries is paradise found. ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
Buckeye is fired up for Tiger football as Mizzou takes on Alabama October 11th. Gear up with unbeatable deals on everything you need for tailgating, fall essentials, and all things farm, ranch, auto, home, and pet. Join the Buckeye Buyers Club for even more savings. And keep the winning spirit going all season long. Buckeye, your farm, ranch, auto, home, pet, and outdoor living destination. Join us 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Friday, October 10th at Buckeye 3910 South Providence Road, Columbia. Go Tigers!
It was 2:30 on a Tuesday when the phone rang. Brian Ware Plumbing answered the call. It was a dismayed wife. Fresh off vacation, her and her hubby came home to a wrecked water heater. It had sprung a leak, a bad one. So while the plumbing team took care of that leaky water heater, Brian's certified restoration guide, Josh, with 2 decades of experience, came in to restore the area and stop mold in its tracks. Another day, another job, another expert added to the team. Ho-hum. Better call Brian and unplug your plumbing problems. BrianWarePlumbing.com.
Every single day, you're making a first impression on thousands of people online. And you might not even realize it. Your website has real marketing power. It can showcase your products and services, promote special offers, and reach a much wider audience through search engines and social media. And if you're doing it right, your website will change and evolve with your growing business. Make sure the first impression you're making is a lasting one with Zimmer Communications. You know business, we grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
Lacrosse Lumber is a huge resource for contractors and do-it-yourselfers. And right now, Lacrosse Lumber needs your help. They're looking for great people who can crush their back counter sales. Detailed folks who understand windows and doors, plus help contractors and the sales process. Full-time positions available with weekly pay and health insurance. Apply in person with Jason at Lacrosse Lumber at AC and Grindstone in Columbia, the oldest, most reliable lumber and hardware company in the Midwest since 1873. LacrosseLumber.com.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
We're back here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy and Brenden here as the NFL season hits week 5 here very soon. Look, the Chiefs looked a lot better on offense with Xavier Worthy back in the fold. Can that continue? We'll see as they get set to take on the Jaguars next week for Monday Night Football. Here to join for all things NFL talk is Matt Hamilton. He's a producer and on-air host for Up and Adams on FanDuel TV with Kay Adams and a former Mizzou guy himself. And great to have him here on the big show, KTGR. And, well, Matt, I mean, the night and day difference for the offense seemed to be pretty stark for the Chiefs in their game against the Ravens. However, do you attribute that to more of Xavier Worthy being involved, just generally guys playing better on that side of the ball, or the ineptitude and really the lack of health for the Baltimore defense at this point?
I do think it was more about Xavier Worthy. We've seen this offense have its struggles against other defenses that are not necessarily great. And when you just look at it schematically, obviously there's what he brought physically with his skill set, the route running, what he did to Chidobe Awuzie, the deep ball they hit to him. There's that element of it, but just what he does for the overall offense. The misdirection stuff was back in the run game, using him as a part of the run game, but also just the motions and the things the defense has to pay attention to. The threat of his speed, lifting the coverage and creating more opportunities for everybody else underneath. It felt like, without him, everybody's all the other pieces in that offense have kind of had to step outside of their roles a little bit to chip in. And with him back, everybody's now kind of doing what their role was supposed to be. We saw, it's not a coincidence that Kelsey had his best games. It's not a coincidence that, Hollywood, things were open for Hollywood Brown a little bit more. It helped, his presence helped everybody in that offense out tremendously. And you see where his game has grown as well over the last year. I think it was a massive, massive thing for this Chiefs offense to get him back. And I think even bigger than any of us fully anticipated.
Yeah, and to do it and to see him the way that he looked in the first game back with dealing still with this injury is maybe some really good news. But I guess, Matt, the one question I would still have about the Chiefs offense is the fact that Xavier Worthy on 2 carries led the team in rushing in the game against Baltimore. Now, they obviously had everything open through the air against Baltimore's secondary, and maybe that's part of the reason, but we haven't really seen Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco do a whole lot with their opportunities so far this season. How do you view the run game moving forward? And is there an angle where maybe Brashard Smith gets involved a little bit more? How do you view that evolving over the season for the backfield?
Yeah, and it's absolutely, it's not good enough right now. And I don't know what the story is with Elijah Mitchell. They paid him a decent amount of money to come in here, and obviously he hasn't been able to see the field. I did like how they worked Brashard Smith in a little bit more, but I know Andy's been pretty clear that he doesn't see him carrying a heavy load just because of his size. So at that point, if you're not going to use Elijah Mitchell, if you just want to sprinkle in Brashard Smith here and there, I think you got to make some type of a move, because Kareem Hunt there's not a lot of juice there. He's going to get to 2-3 yards in front of him, and that's about it. Pacheco leaves a lot of yards out there. There's a lot of tape on that where there's, he could hit for much bigger gains than he does, but he just misses the seam. He just doesn't see it. So I would not be surprised at all if we see the Chiefs go to the trade market here at some point, whether it's a Jerome Ford in Cleveland, who they clearly don't need anymore, or whether they take a bigger swing on an Alvin Kamara or a Breece Hall as we get close to the deadline, and those teams are already pretty much out of it.
Matt Hamilton, producer and on-air host for FanDuel TV here on the big show KTGR and the KTGR app. And with that, I mean, the fact that the Chiefs now look like the way they look on offense, at least through one game, defense has held up pretty well through the first 4 games, you'd have to think. And getting 2-2 through that stretch where they're still trying to get Rashee Rice back from suspension, it seems that there's a little more hope for getting out of this stretch with a favorable record and even heading into their bye right after they visit Buffalo. Essentially, it was looking bleak for the Chiefs as far as the division with how the Chargers started out. But now after the Chargers lose a game to the Giants, is that now, even though the Chiefs are a game behind LA in that sense, should the Chiefs still be favored at this point to rise up and win the division again?
I mean, I'd have to think so if this offense continues on this trajectory, and it should only get better once Rashee does get back. I think that opened the door now, because if the Chargers still had a 2-game lead and the tiebreaker at this point, that's really the thing. It's going to come down to these division games for the Chiefs. You got to beat the Broncos twice. you got to beat the Raiders twice, because the Chargers do have that edge of being 3-0 against the AFC West already. But I think losing a game like that definitely opened up the door for the Chiefs to take this thing right back. And as you said, the way the defense is playing really since that Chargers game, the Chargers game was concerning. It looks like, especially with some of the young guys in that secondary, they were having a real hard time figuring things out. It looks like they were thinking a little too much, not playing super fast. And really over these last 3 weeks, Spags has been phenomenal. He's had a really specific, unique game plan for each opponent, and they're just playing fast. He's kind of simplified things, I think, a little bit for that secondary. They're playing fast. They're the number 2 scoring defense in the league over the last 3 weeks. They have been absolutely tremendous. They look like that defense that has been the strength of the team over these last couple of runs to Super Bowls.
And then, Matt, expanding out to the rest of the AFC a little bit more, like other than the Bills, I'm not sure who legitimately is a contender in that conference. And I guess kind of circling the drain a little bit more on the Ravens being a team that we'd expect to be there. But after the latest loss to Kansas City and now Lamar Jackson dealing with an injury himself, how do you view kind of the hierarchy in the rest of the conference with where, the Ravens are, struggling right now, and there's some teams at 3-1 that you maybe didn't expect to be there. How do you kind of view the landscape in the AFC at large?
And you're right, Brenden. I mean, we go into this thinking the AFC is going to be so loaded and so tough top to bottom, and it is very open right now. And even the Bills look very good. The Bills are going to be there. The Bills, that the Bills are going to be in the divisional round of the championship game. But you also look at it like they did not look great. They haven't looked great the last 2 weeks against the Saints and Dolphins. The combined record of their opponents, that they're 4-0, but the combined record of their opponents is 2-14 right now. So we haven't even seen them really get tested outside of that Week 1 game against the Ravens. But I do think the Chargers are legitimate. I think they're going to be in that conversation. They're a team that's going to be a tough out in the playoffs because I think they are super complete. I'm really interested in this Jaguars game. I think their offense still hasn't really clicked yet, but their defense has been super opportunistic. They generate a ton of pressure. They're really aggressive. They've had 3+ takeaways in every single game they played so far. So this is going to be a good test for the Chiefs and a good litmus test for how the Jaguars are really going to stack up in that hierarchy.
Matt Hamilton of Up and Adams on FanDuel TV joining us here on the Big Show KTGR. On the NFC side, I mean, the most enthralling thing from the weekend was the Packers and Cowboys tie, of course, with how that went down. And I mean, the Packers, after looking excellent for 2 weeks, now they lose to the Browns and they tie against the Cowboys, but maybe a game that they probably should have lost, especially how they handled the final minutes of overtime. But with that hierarchy in the NFC, all of a sudden, clearly Eagles 4-0, Packers are right there, of course, and have looked very good. But is there staying power for this Green Bay team as they roll along here?
I think there is. There are a couple things to keep an eye on with them. Jordan Love, not just the decision making at the end of that overtime, but if you also go back to the Browns game, that game was in hand. They won it, and he throws an inexplicable interception late in the fourth quarter that let the Browns back in the game. Because we know the Browns aren't driving the length of the field. The only way they're getting back in that game is if you gift them the ball deep in your own territory. And he did that, and that's why they lost that game. So he's got to clean up this stuff in, the situational football stuff with him. He's a tremendous talent. He does a lot of great things, but the managing these situations, especially at the end of games, has been an issue over the last couple of years. And that's where you really want to see improvement with him going forward. It's also interesting to see, those first 2 games came at Lambeau, and the next 2 games that were not at Lambeau, the defense especially didn't quite look the same. So I'm wondering if the home road splits are going to be something of a thing with them this year. But I think it's the Eagles. And I think the way the Lions are playing right now, after kind of laying that egg in Week 1 against the Packers, they look tremendous again. That defense is healthy for the most part. They lose DJ Reed this week, but that defense looks amazing. I think the Lions are absolutely going to be in the mix at the top of the NFC.
Matt, when it comes to the Eagles, how would you sort of compare and contrast our views of the Bills, where we say, yeah, some of their wins against lesser competition? The Eagles have played some solid opponents for sure, winning close. Like, how real do you feel like the 4-0 start is for Philadelphia?
I think it's very real. I think, we can debate to death the Jalen Hurts of it all, but the defense is excellent. They're doing what they have to do to win right now. What concerns me more, honestly, than the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown stuff is Saquon averaging 2.6 yards per carry, and that run game having a real hard time getting going. And it isn't just, teams are stacking the box, but teams are stacking the box last year too, and when he was averaging 5 yards per carry. So that's something to keep an eye on. Did the 400 plus touches from last year take a little bit of a toll there? And I do think, you look at last week when going back through the tape of that, they built that huge lead on the Bucs. And obviously we know Jalen doesn't complete a pass in the second half. The offense kind of sputtered, but I do think that was more symptomatic of trying to force the ball to A.J. Brown than anything else. And kind of Jalen playing a little too much outside the offense because he knew they had this big lead and says, let me just get my guy going. We're going to win this game anyway. So let me just force feed him, try to get him going. 6 of those 8 second half passes he threw were targeting AJ. So I think it was more about that than anything being wrong with the structure of the offense or the scheme or anything like that. Obviously that's something you don't want to do going forward, but I think that's what happened. So I'm still big on the Eagles. I still think the Eagles are the team to beat in the NFC, even with all the other sideshows going on. I think they're absolutely still that team. I don't think they're as strong as they were last year, but I do think they are the class of the NFC right now.
I mean, fair to maybe say the comparisons have been made of the 4-0 Eagles this year looking like last year's Chiefs with how they've won close. It hasn't looked all that pretty. Yeah, it's been against good teams, but at what point is a team going to rise up and eventually, find a way to expose them? I don't know. It seems like the comparisons are pretty similar there.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. But, again, I feel like the way the Chiefs season ended left a taste in everybody's mouth. They still got to the Super Bowl. They still won 15 games.
Yeah.
It's this could be their undoing at some point, but they're going to be in that conversation in the conference championship game and potentially in the Super Bowl again.
Well, we'll be looking for that, and certainly the other teams that are trying to unseat everyone, like the Chiefs and Eagles after they went to the Super Bowl last year. And great to talk all things NFL with Matt Hamilton, producer and on-air host for FanDuel TV. Go and watch Up and Adams every single weekday. They talk to several different folks across the NFL, several players and coaches, and you might even see things like what I saw last week, Matt, Rob Gronkowski getting birthday spankings from his mom live on TV. Is that real?
Oh, that was very real. Yeah, that was,
okay.
She used the same spoon she used in his childhood to take that out. We had Sean Alexander announce that he's expecting his 14th child last week too. So you never really know. You never really know what's going to happen.
It's a great time. Go and check it out. Again, great to have Matt Hamilton on with us here on the Big Show, KTGR. Have a great rest of your week, Matt. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk again soon, my friend.
You too. Thanks for having me, guys.
Big Show's on at 444 KTGR and the KTGR app. 14 kids. What?
That's a lot.
Oh, man. I could not imagine.
That's quite a few.
I mean, I've got 2, and it's already a madhouse. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But the Gronk spanking stuff was also a little bit disturbing when that scrolled across my feed the other day.
Was not something I was aware of until you referenced it there to Matt. So I just kind of sat and nodded and said, okay, that happened.
Something to avoid.
Could certainly clip off once Andy talking about birthday spankings. I don't know. There's something there. I felt pretty funny to listen to.
Something happened. I just say it. I was describing what happened all of a sudden. But
there
Gronk,
was.
I guess it could only happen to Gronk. That's the only thing that I know. Under the Bus coming up next. 2 very odd locker room media interviews from 2 pretty polarizing athletes. We'll get to those next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Jones. This live local sports center is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Missouri announcing today that its game against Mississippi State is a sellout. That will be their senior night game on November 15th. Only Mizzou's game against Texas A&M remains to be sold out. That game is sold out. That will make it 2 straight years that Missouri will sell out all of its home games. Saturdays against Alabama will be its 14th straight sellout. Missouri won 39-20 in Starkville last year. Mississippi State has started the season 4-1 in Jeff Levy's second year. Michael Dana and Christian Fulton both listed as questionable. Kansas City Chiefs play the Jaguars on Monday night, 7:20 start from Jacksonville. Just got back to 500 on Sunday with a big win over the Baltimore Ravens. Yesterday was the first day for President of Baseball Operations in St. Louis. Chaim Bloom gave a press conference where he talked about the team's need to address the underlying issues, promising to the fans will be a brighter future ahead in St. Louis. Up next, your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a clear night as temperatures drop down to about 64. It's mild in the morning, but high temperatures get back into the upper 80s tomorrow with partly to mostly sunny skies. Friday is mild in the morning. We'll start out near 65. It's going to be a hot afternoon as we'll see highs up to near 88. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Join the biggest party of football season at KTGR's Tiger Tailgate. Download the KTGR app and find a full list of locations where you can pick up your free Tiger Tailgate passes. Then come party with free food and drinks 2.5 hours before each Mizzou kickoff in front of Mizzou Arena. It's our Tiger Tailgate with Dive Bar, Bud Light, High Noon, Zing Zang, Lucky One Lemonade, and Mid-Mo Water Solutions. Find out where you can pick up your free passes on the KTGR app.
From telling bedtime stories and doing late night homework to driving them to college and sliding them a few $100 when they get there, parents will do just about anything for their children. At Boone Hospital Wound Healing Center, people come from miles around knowing that their staff of doctors, nurses, and therapists will do anything to help heal their wounds. Wait, don't amputate. Visit boone.health to learn more.
Real healing starts here. Boone Hospital, Wound Healing Center.
It's that time of year again. Hit a deer, win a cow with FPP Body Shop. Listen, I'm not saying actively crash your vehicle into a deer, but if you do hit a deer, FPP will ease that stress with a $20 gift card to Fulton Worst House. And you'll be entered in to win the grand prize, a $500 gift card.
Man, I tell you what, winner last year had a cookout with every meat known to man. He all right?
Yeah, Billy. The winner will be popular again this year, too. With FPP, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. Hit a deer, win a cow. FPPBodyShop.com.
Hi, I'm Shelly Scribner, and I'm a marketing strategist for Zimmer Communications. If you're thinking about starting a new career, I really suggest looking at Zimmer Communications. I've been here for several years. It's really a great opportunity to learn a variety of things about a variety of different businesses. The things that you learn really make you proud of being a Missourian and having Zimmer Communications as your place to call home.
If you're up for the challenge, apply now at ZimmerCommunications.com.
Macadoodles does selection like nobody else. If you're looking for ingredients to make the perfect new drink, look no further. Why settle for boring? Macadoodles has you covered. With Columbia's widest variety of beer, wine, and spirits, you're sure to find something new and exciting when you shop with Macadoodles. Come experience the difference in selection at Macadoodles today. Macadoodles delivers world-class customer service and unmatched selection at unbeatable prices. Who does selection like nobody else? Macadoodles does.
1851 Underground in Fulton is a unique spot with delicious menu items like the prime rib sandwich, sliced and stacked with pepper jack cheese, caramelized onion, creamy horseradish, and crispy onion straws, all on ciabatta bread. Grab some friends and check out the daily happy hour from 3 to 5, weekends included. Enjoy a craft beer or a cocktail. It's no secret, but it is underground. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill in the historic Brick District, downtown Fulton.
Parents know bats aren't cheap. That's why Play It Again Sports is giving you the chance to save big. Starting Monday, October 6th through Sunday, October 12th, come into Play It Again Sports in Columbia Mo and enter to win $500 towards the purchase of a brand new baseball or softball bat. Your discount is good through March 31st, 2026, so you can wait for next year's bats and still save. Stop by the store, scan the QR code, and you're in. Play It Again Sports. Think of them first so you don't finish last. Play It Again Sports, ColumbiaMo.com.
Discover, explore, and soak in the views of the incredible landscapes that make up the last frontier, Alaska. Experience the diverse culture and rich history as we cruise the Pacific coast and explore the wilds of Denali, Glacier Bay, and beyond. And boy, do we have some good news. There are currently still seats available, but don't wait, as you only have until October 3rd to book this once-in-a-lifetime trip. To RSVP and learn more, go to ZimmerCommunications.com today.
They can't shoot it straight on the golf course, but they can shoot straight on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Back to Andy and Brenden on The Big Show on KTGR.
It's time to go under the bus on The Big Show.
So, of course, with Joe Flacco being benched for the Browns, it's now Dylan Gabriel as the starting quarterback in Cleveland. Huge.
No, it actually is huge for me.
Oh, yeah.
Picked him up in a super flex league on Sunday morning, and I am saved through Caleb Williams bye week. I've got to start it this week.
What do you know? You came through. Well, it wasn't as good of news, I suppose, for Shedeur Sanders, even though, like, going in, I'm pretty sure he was the third string, and so the starter being benched means the second string gets elevated, and the third string
Almost
is still
always.
not playing.
Yeah.
So, like, what's there to be all upset about? It was just so odd, though, because people were asking him about it, and he's pantomiming. Like,
yeah, we'd play the audio, but
it wouldn't really give us much. Yeah.
It's not really useful in this medium.
No.
Yeah, he's like smiling real big and like moving his mouth like he's talking. He's gesturing. He's not saying any words. And the reporters are like, okay. They ask him another question, and he does it again. Goes on for like 45 seconds in the clip, where he's like looking very gregarious and like very friendly, but like no sounds being emitted from his mouth, no vocal cords active. And I think this is related to, I guess, and Adam Schefter has put this out to kind of call attention to, like, Rex Ryan had a statement this week on one of their ESPN shows where he said this guy just runs his mouth and talks. And so clearly seeming to be connected to that, where he can now say, well, Rex, I didn't say anything here. But like the point is, I think, and look, I'm not saying whether Rex Ryan was right or wrong in his analysis. I think to make a spectacle of yourself is still what this is doing if you're Shedeur Sanders. And so, like, if his point that he's trying to make is, they yell at me when I talk too much, they yell at me when I say nothing. Shedeur, if you just said, look, I was the third string and I understand that I've still got some work yet to be done and I'm eager for my opportunity when that day comes, none of this happens. But that's not in his vernacular. So he did this spectacle instead.
Yeah, it's just
Under the bus.
It's exactly what it is. The number. It's just a number that he's trying to put on for us. You're probably feeling about as I actually probably hate Jazz Chisholm more than you hate Shedeur Sanders, though. I'll say that.
I don't hate Shedeur Sanders. I'm just glad he's not starting this week because, again, that's not who I picked up. I picked
Dylan Gabriel's
Dylan Gabriel.
guy. Absolutely.
So,
Go Ducks. But Jazz Chisholm, man, this was also very awkward in a locker room setting when reporters are trying to ask Jazz Chisholm questions. Jazz Chisholm was not in the starting lineup yesterday for the Yankees in their wild card game against the Red Sox. The Red Sox won. Jazz Chisholm obviously very upset that he was not in the starting lineup. He eventually got in the game. He pinch hit in a big spot. But in this one, he's kind of talking to reporters. He's not pantomiming like Shedeur Sanders. He's actually saying words, but he's got his back turned to them and he's rifling through clothes in his locker. He's like just rearranging his shirts on the hangers as he's answering these questions. So we'd play you that audio too, but that also would not be very good because he's not talking into anybody's microphone. He's talking into his muffled closet of clothes and trying to answer the questions in a very short fashion. Yeah, that also is a spectacle that I will not stand for from one Jazz Chisholm, as you might know.
These guys are not really helping us out with the audio cuts today, I'll tell you.
No. Radio folks are all PO'd about that.
Under the bus.
First guy's not really saying anything at all, and the second one is got his back turned to us. What are we doing here? Got to do a little bit better than that.
Tough moment, though, for him against the Red Sox.
That
might be why.
Yeah, that's also part of it. Which, look, I could have called that. I think he stinks.
It's time for the sweetest thing in sports on The Big Show.
Sell out. It's the seventh one this season. Mizzou, Mississippi State. Now all that's left is the A&M game. That's the only one that has not been announced as a sellout yet in Mizzou's football schedule. If they can sell that one out, then obviously they sell out for back-to-back seasons, and it would be after the Mississippi State game, 20 consecutive sellouts. That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's very impressive. It's indicative of the direction of the program, and that's what they're going to end up with. Like you said, I think there's still one left they've got to secure, but that's coming. And pretty good stuff, man. And you had a lot of home games to sell out this year, too, and fans have answered the bell. I know maybe doesn't like the topic because as well, I was there, and not every seat was filled.
No, it wasn't.
We might have to explain the definition of a sellout, but they're doing it. Mizzou's selling their tickets, and most of the time the fans are showing up for those seats as well.
It'll be rocking, I'm sure, even with the 11 a.m. kick against Alabama a week from Saturday. Let's update our SEC football tiers next at 5:05. You can give us your tiers as well with a call or a text here on the Big Show, KTGR. Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Lee's Tire Company. They're my car people. I'm proud to say it. And if you go to Lee's Tire Company, you'll be proud to say it too, because whenever I bring my car into Lee's Tire Company, I know that I'm getting an honest assessment of what my car needs. If I need new tires, I know they've got an incredible selection to choose from, and they run specials every single month to put money back in your pocket if you need those new tires. And also, they've been family owned and operated in mid-Missouri for decades, and they treat their customers the same way they treat their family. So if you haven't experienced the Lee's Tire Company difference yet, go and check them out at leestirecompany.com. If you need new tires, you can browse through their extensive catalog, see which ones you need for your vehicle, and then go check out one of their 3 locations. They're on the Business Loop in Columbia, they're at University Garage right by the MU campus, and they have a location in Centralia that you can check out. Lee's Tire Company, they are the place to go for tires in mid-Missouri. Go check them out at leestirecompany.com. Because if it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of Main Event Catering. And with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up to 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
Winter's on the way, so now's the time to plan your tree pruning. Here's why. In winter, trees are dormant, which means there's less risk of disease. Plus, without all those leaves, it's way easier to see exactly what needs trimming. The educated, licensed, insured, and experienced crew at Advanced Tree Solutions knows how to protect your trees and your wallet. But spots are filling fast, so schedule your winter pruning today at AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com. Advanced Tree Solutions, LLC, your tree's best friend.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, Mid-Missouri's total sports station. KTGR.
I'm Christine Lisi. On ABC, it is a must-win for the Padres. Game 2 in a wild card series against the Cubs. Manny Machado's 2-run shot in the 5th up San Diego's lead to 3-0. Bottom 8, same score. Reliever Mason Miller again showing why the Padres gave up so much to acquire him at the MLB trade deadline.
The 1-2, swing and a miss. The slider generates a swing and a miss, strike 3. So that's 11 consecutive batters struck out by Mason Miller, dating back to the end of the Padres regular season.
The call on ESPN Radio, San Diego still leading Chicago 3-0, bottom 9. Fueled by a 5-run 8th that included home runs by Brian Rocchio and Bo Naylor, Guardians beat the Tigers 6-1. Game 2 AL wildcard series to force a winner-take-all Game 3 tomorrow. Detroit just 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position and stranded 15 runners. NFL injured 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy and receivers Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings all out tomorrow night against the Rams. Commanders QB Jaden Daniels medically cleared to return from a sprained knee Sunday against the Chargers. Ravens remain mum on quarterback Lamar Jackson's status Sunday against the Texans because of a hamstring.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon. Coming up Thursday, the 49ers are 3-1, but I'll tell you why all their injuries are finally catching up to them. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
From Faro,
15 to the 10, to the house,
Bush,
back to the wall, and it's got her.
and Arrowhead,
Touchdown, Kansas City.
to your speakers.
This is the big show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is The Big Show with Andy and Brenden on KTGR.
We have an update on our SEC football tiers, and I got to say, just looking at last week's, I mean, yeah, it needs a true update. I think at the top definitely needs one. We'll get to it in a few minutes. You can tell us how you would tier the SEC football teams as it stands right now through 5 weeks with a call or a text here at 875-KTGR. Also, we'll get into in a little bit, I mean, some Major League Baseball talk specifically around the managerial openings and the former Cardinals legend that has had a lot of smoke around his name for one of those job openings in particular. We'll get to that at 5:25. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
It's a bye week for Mizzou football this weekend. That won't stop us from looking ahead to the Alabama contest that looms, but also some good news for the program. A sellout officially for the Mississippi State game, which will be senior night coming up in November. Don't tell our friend Matey. He might get upset, of course, because he didn't like that we were talking about these sellouts. Yes, not every single game has every seat filled, but when you consider the definition of a sellout, the program selling these tickets and fans largely, unless it's 100 degrees out, filling the seats to the brim, it's pretty impressive what Eli Drinkwitz has been able to do. I think the streak is going to be up to 20 by the end of the season.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Some nuggets from Chaim Bloom that I think are most interesting to the near future of the Cardinals after yesterday. The possibility that they will pursue starting pitching depth in free agency this offseason was broached, and Bloom mentioned that they don't want to take anything off the table when it comes to signing trades or extension type of moves, but reiterated that anything they do has to align with their long-term goals. I have to believe that the long-term goals to develop starting pitching is going to include not feeling compelled to rush certain guys to the big leagues. That's got to mean some free agent activity and acquiring depth. So I like that that's being considered already.
Number 3.
By the way, another Cardinals note, Ollie Marmol is back as the manager. In case people were thinking that there was going to be a different result, this was always going to be the case. Why pay 2 managers while you're going into a rebuild? But maybe they do actually need to extend Ollie Marmol by a year or 2 because his contract is expiring after the end of 2026. And I just don't think it makes sense to put him in a lame duck situation and try to evaluate him on a year where you're not really trying to contend. By the way, Albert Pujols may end up in a manager share sooner rather than later, the reporting that he could be headed to the Angels.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Shedeur Sanders pantomiming his answers to reporters about him not being chosen, Dylan Gabriel being chosen to replace Joe Flacco for the Browns this week. Look, I get what he's trying to do there. Rex Ryan had some bombastic things to say about how Shedeur needs to stop running his mouth. I don't think this really hits the point on that, which is not to say that he should respond to Rex Ryan at all, but the fact that he is doing this is just another spectacle rather than just buckling down, doing the things he needs to do to stay out of the limelight until such time that he's the QB1.
Number 5.
What is the 5 fingers? Say to the face.
Uncomfortable clip from ABC's telecast of Padres Cubs this afternoon, game 2 of that wild card series. I think the Padres are close to wrapping that up. Basically, the analyst Ben McDonald made it very clear he will not be watching any hockey this year on ESPN.
That's The Big Show's top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
Yeah, 875-KTGR if you want to call or text us. I'm not hearing the audio at this point from Ben McDonald, but I'm seeing the clip and the quote. There is
I might try to grab it for you unless
I can play it here if you would
Billy
like.
or you.
Yeah, I can play it here if you would like.
It's worth it. I'm telling you, this clip is, when you know about the way that people have felt about ESPN's hockey coverage in particular, like, this does not help.
Here it is.
Blackhawks return to the ice next Tuesday, NHL opening night against the defending champion Florida Panthers at 5 Eastern, 4 Central on ESPN.
Okay.
Triple header that night. Penguins, Rangers, Avalanche, Kings.
Yeah.
Ben, I know you got an opinion on this. Panthers three-peat this year. What do you think?
If you say so. I mean, good luck to it. Are you asking if I'm going to be watching?
No, you'll be watching, of course, because you work for ESPN. You'll be watching.
There is zero chance I'll be watching. I'm just going to be honest.
Where will you be?
I will be somewhere, but there's zero chance I'll be watching.
All right, thanks, Ben. We'll be watching. Thanks for the rating.
We got to unpack this a little bit. We got to unpack this a little bit. So,
yeah.
And I don't know offhand, I don't know the play-by-play guy.
Kevin
for
Brown,
game.
it sounds like. I think those two do the Orioles broadcast together, I believe. So that's why I heard him there. I think that's.
And so they've got some chemistry. I would think then, if they've got some familiarity with one another, that Kevin Brown might know that this dude has no idea about hockey. And maybe, though, he was trying to do kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, I know you've got an opinion, but didn't think that Ben McDonald would go to the extent to say, like, at first what he said was fine. Like, it was kind of me joking about soccer, where I would say, yeah, good luck to him. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
And then you kind of can leave it there. The problem, though, I think was when Ben McDonald doesn't take yes for an answer. Kevin Brown says, well, of course you'll be watching because it's on ESPN and you work for ESPN today. And he says, no, I'm not going to be watching. No, shut up.
Come on.
Just say nothing. He absolutely gave him an out where it would have been kind of annoying maybe for some hockey fans who always are thinking, oh, like my sport, please. And ESPN is obviously a broadcast partner. And so Ben McDonald probably should have just left well enough alone, but that could not have gone worse. After he gave him the out, he said, well, of course you'll be watching, and you could say, yeah, looking forward to it. Same thing as Shadur Sanders. You could have just said, you know what, looking forward to when my opportunity comes. I'm going to have to work for it until then. And then they'll stop asking you the questions about it because you didn't give them an interesting answer. Ben McDonald gave an interesting answer, and it was not the one that I think ESPN was probably hoping to hear.
It was a funnier answer. I'll say that much.
It was absolutely
it's going under the bus.
Under the bus.
I mean, it was a lot funnier.
That is so good. And again, just like we talk about, man, there are hockey fans that really don't love the coverage at times. They always feel like they're underrepresented, and that doesn't help right there. That clip is now going to go viral, and Ben McDonald, the dude, I mean, his partner should have known that this was potentially going to go. I kind of put the blame on both of them a little bit. But again, I think at a certain point, Ben McDonald just recognized, okay, he's giving me the out. I don't have to keep saying words. And he says, no, I'm not going to be watching. There's zero chance I'll be watching. Oh, catch the fever.
Hey, it's about to heat up with hockey. Coldest sport there is.
Cools down, though.
It's like, I don't know.
He said it's on ESPN. We're on ESPN.
We're on ESPN, buddy. You're wearing the polo. And we're reading the four-letter network right there.
On your shirt.
Oh, man.
It's a tough one.
That's unfortunate. 875-5847 if you want to give us a call or a text here. By the way, people sometimes say, don't you guys work for ESPN too? We're on an ESPN radio affiliate. Technically,
yeah, we're getting fired for just talking about this. Actually,
I guess so. Is that it? I don't think that's how it works. No, I think we're fine with how we talk about point out.
And look,
things
I'm not. I don't think I'm ripping anybody. I think it's media where it's interesting stuff sometimes, and we always have talked about that topic, and so it is what it is. I think Ben McDonald specifically. He might get an email, is all I'm saying. He might get an email where they say, you are on the network. A game was on ABC today. Maybe we could just lay off on making fun of hockey.
On that note, be sure to tune in at 7:30 tonight. ESPN Radio's coverage of Reds Dodgers.
I thought you were going to say hockey. I was going to be of course.
No, it's not. It's baseball.
Anything but that.
Postseason baseball right here on KTGR. You can catch it. Reds-Dodgers game 2. Dodgers trying to close out the series tonight. They crushed the Reds yesterday. My gosh. That'll be coming up.
They crushed them. But were you watching that 8th inning or listening to that 8th inning? Because It got really kind of interesting. The Dodgers could not stop walking people.
Yeah,
I think it got to 10-5. The bases were still loaded.
That's the worry.
And then they got out of it.
That bullpen is the worry. Like, got to have the starters eat up a ton of those innings, which is hard to do in the postseason. Like, you get they try to stretch out their starters as much as possible, but it just doesn't work out that way a lot of times. Those are each pitch is higher stress, which means you really can't spend as many as you do in the regular season when it comes to your starting pitching. So that's the worry. And Dodgers bullpen, a little iffy. Don't know about them.
And you also ask those bullpen guys to often bounce back a little bit more quickly because you want to try to get your best bullpen arms in as many games as possible when the season is on the line. But if the Reds had gapped one and made it, 10-8, I would have stayed up for the last inning. But after a couple of consecutive outs, 10-5, I said, okay, I'm going to call it here. I assume they ended up holding on to win. You told me they did, so I guess that's right.
Yeah,
but it was late,
right. It was kind of after my bedtime. So tonight, be sure to tune in. First pitch will be around 8 p.m. Coverage begins at 7:30 from ESPN Radio right here on KTGR for Reds and Dodgers in the Wild Card Series Game 2. In the meantime, we roll along on the big show. We update our SEC football tiers.
This will be a fun update.
Oh, boy, will it. Oh, boy. Can't wait for this one. Here's just at the top, we've got to make changes because both of us, Brenden and I, had Georgia and LSU at the top of the SEC tiers.
And I predicted Ole Miss to win that game against LSU. So I do these tiers of really what's happened, and then I allow the results moving forward to dictate. LSU, I get it. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that we're dropping LSU today, but I think they're going to be dropped out of both of our top tiers if I had to imagine. I guess the obvious question, does Alabama move into the top tier? They've taken a loss this year, but
I think
they got the best win.
Though I think you got to put them up there in the top tier. Yeah, there's no other explanation. And then maybe the question is, after that, does anyone join them?
Who joins them? Yeah. And for me, the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that Alabama is head and shoulders above. Again, they have taken a loss.
Right.
I don't know that I will be dropping Georgia out of the top tier.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Who's the second best team in the SEC today? Go. And if your first is Alabama, I think they've got the best. I think they're the most capable team in the SEC as of today is Alabama.
So I'll start to make the case for Ole Miss. In that same vein, I mean, it wasn't a road win where they went to Death Valley and beat LSU. But they still got a very impressive one there. They've got 3. I mean, this is how the schedule works out, obviously, but 3 SEC wins so far, albeit the first couple have been against Kentucky and Arkansas. I think we know more about Arkansas now.
Yeah, and close. Those are both one-possession games.
Yeah, it's not
against two
great
bad teams.
But look, I will give deference to the fact that they are SEC teams in that sense.
Arkansas's got a very good offense as well.
And I think that the Kentucky game, there was no question as to who was winning that. It was going to be Ole Miss from the start. There was a little bit of question in the Arkansas game because they have a great offense and a great quarterback, and that should at least still be acknowledged. But I think you are right. I think Ole Miss is lucky that they had that Arkansas game at home. Otherwise, maybe it's a different result. Crushed Tulane, crushed Georgia State. I mean, there can be a case made. I'll put them in my top tier right now. Ole Miss, they've done enough. Yeah, I'll say Ole Miss is in my top tier, and that might be the end of the top tier for me.
You're going Alabama. You're going Ole Miss. Yeah. No Georgia.
No Georgia. No.
I'm gonna keep Georgia in there. I think. And again, I just got done talking about how I'm gonna let the results dictate. But I also, when I am trying to break a tie, I think Georgia would beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss, for me, you mentioned the 2 close wins. Beating LSU is impressive. I think in retrospect, had LSU too high. I clung too long to the notion that, they beat Florida, they beat Clemson. I don't think those teams are very good.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let a mistake that I made previously then influence this. LSU was in the top tier. Ole Miss beat them. I have to move them up. I don't necessarily know if I do. And by the way, I think we both had Ole Miss in the 3rd tier last week. So I'm going to move Ole Miss up, but it's going to be moving them up to tier 2. I'm thinking about A&M. I'm thinking about Tennessee. I want to give some really good credit to Tennessee for that win at Mississippi State. because I don't think that's easy to do. But by the same token, if I'm going to end up keeping Mississippi State relatively low in my tiers, there's not a lot of upward mobility there. So Bama, Georgia is going to be my top tier for this week.
Man. All right. So that means for the rest of this, I'll put LSU in the second tier. I'll put Georgia in the second tier. Oh, but does that mean the Texas, all those other teams have to be in there
It's
too?
so hard to sort through tiers 2 and 3 every single week. I cannot figure it out.
See, now I feel obligated to put Georgia and LSU still in their own tier and then drop everybody else. Does that sound crazy? Because
Okay, so you're basically saying LSU, Georgia is going to be your tier 2.
my tier 2, and then I feel similarly about the remaining 9-ish, or not 9-ish, but 5 to 6-ish teams after that. I mean, it's Oklahoma, A&M. Who's A&M beaten? Okay, they did go and beat Notre Dame. Maybe they
beat
don't.
Auburn,
right? In Auburn, Oklahoma
close.
just did
like
that.
they scored 16 points.
Like, here's the thing: I go Oklahoma, A&M, Mizzou, Tennessee, Vandy, and Texas,
all in the same tier.
all in tier 3,
Okay.
essentially there. Because LSU and Georgia, like, look, I get they can't be on the top tier anymore. They clearly showed some flaws in the games that they had this past weekend, which I think we all knew about, but we weren't quite ready to say, let's ding them from the top tier because of that, because they still have a whole lot of talent. I think they still have a talent edge, I believe, on all of those teams below them in tier 3, but clearly they have to start showing that they're worthy of playoff contention now, which is why they're not top tier, and it's why they are getting fewer trip ups going forward. They maybe only have one left that they can have on their schedule the rest of the way. Otherwise, you're starting to flirt a little bit more with missing the playoff as a 9-3 team.
What puts LSU in the second tier for you?
Well,
I'm suggesting that I may move them lower.
I mean, that's
because I didn't move Ole Miss up into the top tier. I'm not ready to do that yet. I still think Alabama and Georgia, I think we saw the 2 best teams in the SEC play this weekend. I don't think the margin is significant between those 2 and the next 8.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 10 ranked teams in the AP this week in the SEC. But LSU, for me, we're looking at an offense that's still sputtering. Ole Miss's defense has had its moments, but it did give up 35 to Arkansas. And so a 24-19 win for Ole Miss over LSU. LSU scores 19 points. LSU scored 20 against Florida. They scored 23 against Louisiana Tech. They scored 17 against Clemson.
Yeah, the offense doesn't look great. No.
The offense doesn't look great. And so, for me, Ole Miss and LSU are still kind of very similar. The home team won a close game. But, man, I want to kind of punish LSU even further because I don't think the offenses look great. And I'm not convinced that the defense is as good as we have been giving it credit for until I see LSU go into Nashville on October the 18th and hold Vanderbilt to a number in the teens. I don't know about LSU's defense just yet. I think they're fine. They're good, and they're playoff contenders, still playoff contender. But I would rather put LSU in kind of a Mizzou, OU, Vanderbilt tier. And I want to give credit to, right now, A&M, Tennessee, and Texas, put them into tier 2 with Ole Miss. I may drop LSU to tier 3. I'm off them right now, man. I'm a skeptic.
Here's the thing.
Sure of LSU right now.
If you believe it all in SP Plus, Georgia is 16, LSU is 17. That's kind of why I grouped them together.
I'm not looking at SP Plus when I'm making my rankings. I want to go on vibes, baby. I want to.
Well, it's vibes, but it's also
that.
But I mean, you could say the same thing about Georgia. I get it. The win at Tennessee was huge, but I don't know if they should have really won that one. That was Tennessee's game, man, for several moments.
How many times have we given Mizzou credit for games that it's
Fair.
in the balance and you find a way to win it?
No,
I want
right.
to always give the team credit. There
You're
are
right.
times where I will tell a team that you blew it, and Tennessee blew that game, but Georgia also won it. So you got to. It's a mixed bag a little bit sometimes. What I want to portray with these tiers this week is that LSU took a big drop for me. And I don't see them as a playoff team.
Well, eventually that probably will be the case if they can't get going against teams that they've got left, because it's still going to be tough. I mean, Bama's
at
gonna be
OU,
there.
host A&M, at Bama, at Vandy. They're losing 2 of those games.
Yeah, I think so. They'll lose to Bama and they'll lose to OU.
Vanderbilt is beating LSU at home. I'm just to let everybody know this. A week before
Nashville.
Mizzou goes into Nashville. That's happening. And I hope against hope that LSU is like a 3.5 point favorite, because the money that I earn on that will be spent in Nashville celebrating the next week when Mizzou finds a way to beat Vandy on the road.
Brenden, here's the thing. Like, Vandy's going to have to take some losses in your book at some point. They're going to have to. They've got.
Where are they coming?
If you're trying to put Mizzou in the playoff, like, that's a team that they're directly competing with there, and so like that's going to have to happen at some point for Vandy.
So that's one. Is that Vandy's undefeated today? Is that correct?
Vandy is 5-0. That's right.
They
just
could
like
lose.
Mizzou.
They're 10. Listen, man, they're 10.5 point underdogs to Alabama.
At Alabama.
I think it could be a very compelling game, but I'm going to take Bama to win that game this weekend.
At Texas after they play Mizzou.
They'll lose to Vanderbilt's going to lose to Alabama. They're going to lose to Missouri.
And that's it?
That's it. 10-2.
I hope.
Beat LSU at home.
I hope that's not the team that kicks Mizzou out of the playoff.
Listen, man.
That's the case, man. Like,
there's a realm that Mizzou gets to 10-2. Mizzou handles their business. Again, you're not going to see Vanderbilt's 10-2 kick Mizzou out when Mizzou has a win over Vanderbilt. That's the scenario that I just painted. Head to head. I promise you.
I won't put anything past that committee. Won't put anything past them.
They're both going to be in because LSU's going to pick up a third loss. There's going to be Georgia's going to pick up a third loss. We're going to find a way. All right. It'll all settle itself out. But here's the thing. I'm that high on Vanderbilt. I'm not vaulting them into tier 2 just yet because, like Missouri, Vanderbilt has wins over solid teams, but they haven't really beat a great team yet. And look, if Vanderbilt loses close to Alabama this weekend, Vanderbilt probably stays in my third tier. But if they beat Alabama, you will not be able to convince me to leave Vanderbilt out of the top tier. I'm just telling you now. Like, if they do it as a 10.5 point underdog in Tuscaloosa, y'all better start recognizing Vanderbilt as a legitimate top 5 team in the country. If they do that,
875
nobody expects
KTGR. You can call or text us with your SEC football tiers. So you have. We've gotten the 10.
You want me to run it down for you?
Yeah, we've got the 10 ranked teams essentially.
We do.
in the
top three
tiers now.
I'm going to go Bama, Georgia, tier 1. Ole Miss, Tennessee, A&M, and Texas in tier 2.
Okay.
Vanderbilt, Missouri, Oklahoma, no tier for now. LSU falling into tier 3. And those are the 10 teams ranked in the AP poll this week.
All right. And then after that, we get to the teams.
Not a lot changes.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, Auburn losing close at A&M is not an embarrassment to that team.
No.
South Carolina beating Kentucky like they were supposed to is keeps them where they were. And Mississippi State losing in overtime to Tennessee. I can't move you up on a loss, Bulldogs, but I'm impressed by the Bulldogs. Of that tier, I would probably put Mississippi State above South Carolina and Auburn if I were doing little mini rankings within the tier. But that's my 4th tier is Auburn, South Carolina, and Mississippi State. And I believe that is unchanged from last week. Although I did have Florida in the basement tier, and Florida was on a bye this week.
Yeah, they're idle.
Did Kentucky and Arkansas look bad enough that I'm dropping them both, and Florida gets to be in its own tier after not playing? I think that is what's happening.
That's what I'm doing. I'm putting Arkansas in my.
But you had Kentucky separated already from Arkansas, Florida.
Yeah,
and you're going to bump Arkansas down to join Kentucky, which is appropriate.
Yes.
I had all 3. I had one fewer tier last week than you. I only had 5. I'm back to 6. Florida's stagnant, but I'm putting Kentucky and Arkansas in the bottom tier together. Arkansas has upward mobility with this under Bobby Petrino. Kentucky does not.
No.
Kentucky will end up at the end of the season, when it's all said and done, the Wildcats will be in the bottom tier of the conference by themselves, if I had to predict it today.
I think that's right. We'll see what it looks like for them, for Mark Stoops is
Mark Stoops and Bob Petrino. Bob Petrino is going to pick off a team or two that gets them up a higher tier, but do
they play each other?
No, I'm just saying, I don't think.
No, they don't.
Maybe they do.
No, they don't.
But Arkansas, don't you think Arkansas wins a couple of games that before Sam Pittman was fired, we didn't think they were going to win? That feels like the way that this ends up going.
Like, do they pick off A&M?
Yes, actually, I think they very
you
well
think so?
could.
Okay. All right.
Is that game? It's
So
in October.
Yeah, it's in Fayetteville. Usually they do a Jerry Dome situation there, but I guess it's in Fayetteville this year.
Yeah, not a neutral. That one is on campus. Here's another one that I don't know if I'll predict it. I will take them on the spread. Right now, Arkansas, as they institute the Bobby Petrino era, and he fires all the defensive coaches and like is building a staff as though he runs the place, which I guess maybe he does.
For now.
After that, they will have a football game in Knoxville, Tennessee on October the 11th. That is a trap game for Tennessee. I'm going to tell you right now. Because if Arkansas's defense plays better under whatever changes are going to be made here, Arkansas's offense is as good as anybody's offense. Tennessee could overlook them, and they get a bye week to prepare for it. I am just telling you, Arkansas, sneaky against Tennessee in that matchup. And I really hope it happens, too, because we got to get another loss pinned on the Vols, or they're going to waltz to 10-2 as well. We got to find a 9-3 path for them, and maybe it's Arkansas that does it. Arkansas hosts Mississippi State. They host Auburn. Like, I'm not going to take Arkansas to beat Missouri, but of their 6 remaining games, they've got 6 remaining games besides Mizzou. They're winning 3 of those games because I think Taylon Green is a really good player, and that's a really good offense that now Bobby Petrino can kind of rally the troops around. I'm higher on Arkansas than I probably feel comfortable being because they made the coaching change.
We have not talked about enough this week how wild it is that he's the coach again at Arkansas. Like,
but didn't we all see this coming?
Like completely wild. I mean, I guess at some point that was the case, but
once he was brought in,
does not make it any less wild. Once he was brought into being the OC, yes,
it's wild because you knew Sam Pittman should have been fired 2 years ago. It's very strange. Are they crying poor? Is that the deal? Hunter Yurachek saying, "Yeah, Sam didn't really have the resources to be able to win here at Arkansas." Can I ask a question?
That's not a great thing to say. Like,
no, it's not. When you're the AD,
yeah,
is that not you? Don't you do the fundraising and like the rallying the donors and what? Did they just not want to rally around Sam Pittman, but they're going to be willing to rally around the next guy that they bring in?
Bobby Petrino is who they're willing to rally around after what happened
I think,
10
honestly,
years ago.
Right now, I think they're willing to say, "Oh, screw it. The season has been so bad. Let Petrino do whatever he wants, and if it goes well, we'll lean in."
That doesn't work out well when Bobby Petrino gets to do whatever he wants.
Okay, let me caveat. Let him do whatever he wants other than riding a motorcycle. Can we just avoid that? And we're going to be going. Because, look, if the offense is top 5, I don't know what SP Plus or I know FPI had him as like a top 10 offense in the country prior to the loss to Notre Dame. Like, if Arkansas is a top 10 offense, they could win 4 of their remaining games. I don't predict it, but we could look at it kind of like Florida bouncing back at the end of last season and going, well, maybe Petrino, and if not, do they then say we're ready to pay money because we've got Tyson chicken money and we've got Walmart money or whatever they've got?
Yeah.
And do what they kind of did with Calipari and say, we're going to name our price in basketball. Clearly there's something going on behind the scenes where there wasn't the support for Sam Pittman. And now I think they've kind of run that out, and then maybe we'll see what they do. I hope they get it wrong because I've enjoyed the free wins over Arkansas with Sam Pittman, brother. And he's not a bad guy, but he was not the football coach that was going to beat Mizzou. I mean, it just wasn't going to happen.
No.
So kind of sucks that they fired him, honestly.
Yeah, for Mizzou's sake. I mean, now Arkansas has a chance to rally around someone. I think it would be hilarious if they ultimately fall upon Bobby Petrino on that search. But
there's some that would believe they're going to make a pitch. There are some that believe they would make a pitch to Eli Drinkwitz. That is a thing that is believed, and I have maintained they can make a pitch all they want. They can pitch anything. Local high schools could make a pitch if they wanted. If there's an opening at Centralia, they can offer drink. Yeah. Anybody could. Arkansas can too. But they've tried that before, and Mizzou got him. By the way, read the story from Gabe DeArmond at PowerMizzou.com that he wrote about that whole oral history.
Yes.
And it gets you even more fired up to know that, like, Arkansas tried really hard.
Yeah.
And Mizzou beat him to the punch. So there you go.
Our SEC football tiers, call or text us with yours, 875-KTGR here on The Big Show. As we roll along here, we'll talk about, in the sense of head coaches / managers, how would you feel about Albert Pujols being one in Major League Baseball? That seems to be a real possibility. We'll get to that next.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for ProfitShares.com. Go and check it out if you haven't already. If you know who's going to win these games in college football and pro football this weekend, and you want to put that knowledge to the test and maybe win some prizes in the process, well, go to ProfitShares.com. Get started today. They give you an online credit share to use once you sign up, and then you can use those to enter into some different markets for predictions that you want to make, or you can enter into weekly contests and specifically look for the Margin Madness contests where you can pick the outcomes of each one of these games this weekend. And the better you do in those weekly contests week after week, the more points you earn, and you can use those points to redeem them for gift cards and charitable donations if you'd like. And it costs you nothing, completely free to play. That's my favorite part. So go and check out ProfitShares.com. That's PROPHET shares.com. Sign up and be ready to enter into those weekly contests starting this week.
Missouri Show Me 5 hospitals are leading the way in becoming baby-friendly. Hospital practices play a huge role in supporting families with infant feeding choices and breastfeeding success. Show Me 5 hospitals are committed to creating a welcoming, supportive environment for moms and babies. Want to find a Show Me 5 certified hospital near you? Learn more about what makes a hospital baby-friendly and see a list of participating hospitals at health.mo.gov/Show Me 5.
Parents know bats aren't cheap. That's why Play It Again Sports is giving you the chance to save big. Starting Monday, October 6th through Sunday, October 12th, come into Play It Again Sports in Columbia Mo and enter to win $500 towards the purchase of a brand new baseball or softball bat. Your discount is good through March 31st, 2026, so you can wait for next year's bats and still save. Stop by the store, scan the QR code, and you're in. Play It Again Sports. Think of them first so you don't finish last. Play It Again Sports, ColumbiaMo.com.
Hey, it's Molly, and it's football season at Billiards. What he said was, our Missouri teams are going to be really good this year.
I did love me an old kiss.
That's right. So whether you watch on Saturdays or Sundays, Billiards has the biggest TVs in Columbia.
Have you giving out old H2O?
Whether you're hydrating with H2O or a cold Missouri beer on tap, watch your favorite teams all season at Billiards.
You gotta have to boogie on down.
Billiards! Home Broadway. Now that's high quality.
A fighter jet is a marvel of a machine. It can do some incredible things. But if you tried to jump in it and fly that bad boy right now, how do you think that would turn out? Crash and burn. Don't let that happen to your brand or your business. At Fuse 32, we have the perfect people in place who know how to pilot a strong marketing campaign. So put your seat in its upright position and let us show you how to navigate the skies of marketing to take your brand and your business to new heights. It's time for takeoff. Fuse 32. There's nothing we can't do.
Hit a deer, win a cow. Hit a deer, win a cow. Hit a deer, win a cow. FPP, Easy's 1, 2, 3. FPP, Easy's 1, 2, 3. FPP, Easy's 1, 2, 3. Award-winning auto collision repair. Don't wait, we're great. We work with all insurance companies. We work with all insurance companies. Yes, we work with your insurance company. New Bloomfield, Missouri. FPPBodyShop.com. 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 Fletcher, Performance and Paint.
Tired of calling Andy and Brenden? So are their wives. Then shoot them a text right now. 573-875-KTGR and become part of the Big Show.
So tell us who should be atop the SEC football tiers. Brenden went ahead and kept Georgia in there, along with Alabama at the top. I said Bama and Ole Miss. Like, here's the thing. Every SEC team has a flaw, man. One that we could pretty clearly pick out, either with what they've done in their schedule so far, how they look if they haven't lost just yet, like in the case of Ole Miss. Like, how have you looked against these teams? It's so hard, and I can't even definitively say that at the end of the season we're going to be saying that Bama is the top SEC team, or that Georgia is that, or Ole Miss is that. It is.
There's nothing definitive about any of this. I would have had Bama like 7th probably after the Florida State loss. I could go look. I had them. I dropped them. I dropped them down to the 3rd tier. Like, that's I'm not convinced of anything, but I'm just kind of going based off of what we're seeing right now.
It's pretty insane. But yeah, there's still a long way to go. We'll see how it all shakes out. If that third tier eventually will start to get broken up, I think. I've got it at 6 teams wide. That's where Mizzou is right now for both of us. And so we'll see who can rise up from that group, because maybe 1 or 2 teams do, but not all of them will get the requisite wins.
I think you might get 5 to 6 that end up in the top 2 tiers by the time it's all said and done. And that dividing line to me is going to be like legit CFP contender to reach the playoff. And then the top tier probably ends up being, for me, I don't think I'll have a tier at the top where I'm like, yep, this is the de facto clear best team in the SEC going in, and they've got a chance to win the national championship. I'll have probably 2 tiers of the playoff caliber teams. The top tier is going to be the ones that I think can really do damage in the playoff. The other tier is the ones that are going to make the playoff. And that top tier could be 3 teams, but I think it's a watered down version of it, because I don't think there is one team that's head and shoulders above the rest.
So tell us what you think about it. 875-KTGR. You can also comment on our YouTube channel at KTGR Sports, where we're live right now. This very interesting, multiple sources, several folks across the Major League Baseball landscape that cover everything behind the managerial searches that are starting to get underway. The Angels, one of them, they said goodbye to Ron Washington, and apparently, if you believe the reports, the leading candidate in Artie Moreno's mind, the owner of the Angels, is Albert Pujols, of course, Cardinals legend. And, I mean, played a long time for the Angels, too. Basically split his entire career half and half between St. Louis and Anaheim, and has actually been managing the last couple of years in the Dominican Republic for a team that has actually done pretty good under his tutelage, under his leadership. So that's apparently getting some notice. He was obviously going to get calls eventually, even if that didn't happen. But how do you feel about Albert Pujols, the manager, potentially? Manager of the Angels, no less.
Yeah, and like I said in the top 5, Ollie Marvel's not going anywhere. Chaim Bloom said they haven't really discussed extension yet, but I think that's something that honestly comes in spring or before the season at some point. And we'll see on that front when it comes to the Cardinals. But that's to say there's not really an opening in St. Louis. And so if you're Albert, you're like, I'm ready. I've decided I'm ready to pursue an opening. Makes a lot of sense. You're currently under contract with the Angels for that personal services contract. And if they've got a managerial opening and they want you and you want to be a big league manager, I think that's a place that makes sense. So I would not be surprised to see that come to fruition.
Go somewhere where you can work under a shadow. I think that's the main thing. You're working under the shadow of the Dodgers, and how much?
So not as much pressure,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like I even thought, in the case of Ron Washington, he was only there for a couple of seasons, right? If that.
He wasn't really fired so much as he stepped away for health reasons this year.
Yeah.
And it was reported about a month ago that this Pujols thing could be happening from some reporters in Latin America. But that was kind of, they're still playing the season, and the interim probably wants to have a chance. And so until like the season's over, it's not really kosher to probably broadcast that out. And so we got some more prominent stateside reporters sharing that news more recently. Ken Rosenthal, the several reporters with The Athletic that are saying, he's going to be interviewed. He's a leading. Artie Moreno would want to hire him.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think it happens. If I had to guess, if everybody's ready for it, it would seem like, sure, you can interview him, but pretty familiar with Albert Pujols. That's one of those where it's like, what's that interview even look like? You want to hire him or not? I think you probably already know. He's employed in your organization. He's Albert Pujols. If you're going to hire him, you're going to hire him. And I think they probably ultimately will.
Like the fans, I'm sure, would be very much behind that, because I think he was still pretty well received in Anaheim, even though it wasn't really winning seasons. I think they still embraced Albert for who he was. And even though he wasn't like the success
bang
that he had in St. Louis was more consistent there, and it just never really translated. I don't know if maybe there's still a section of that fan base that says, man, we paid you all that money and didn't play as well as you did in St. Louis or whatever it might have been. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, still put up some really good counting stats to eventually get to the 700 that he finished off in St. Louis. And yeah.
If I may, what the fans think doesn't really matter, because when the fans see a hire, they're going to have a reaction, and then they're going to play a season, and then you find out if the guy's any good or not, right? Like their reaction, their initial reaction will change if they don't like it at first. I think most people can understand the career that he had and the baseball knowledge that he brings, and I think his approach is really solid, and I think he would do a really good job as a big league manager whenever that time may come. We've said this for a number of years, and it's been kind of that awkward waiting out where you're like, I've got a good relationship with Ollie Marmol, would love to manage the Cardinals. Looks like he's got that job for a little while. And I think that then frees you up if you're Albert Pujols to, like, look, if there had been a different route for the Cardinals organization, is like, okay, Heimblum's coming in, he's going to bring in a manager, which is not what's happening.
Yeah.
I think Albert would have been making a call to say, consider me in St. Louis, but that's not what's happening. And I think that's right. The Cardinals are embarking upon a multi-year rebuild where they're not going to be putting pedal to the metal to contend right now. And so if that's the case and you're Albert and you're like, I don't want to wait any longer. If there's somebody that wants me, I'm going to do it. That's not surprising. And it's not surprising to me either that he's first between Albert and Yachty to pursue and maybe land a big league managerial job.
That's right. Yep.
It makes more sense for Yachty to wait around if the St. Louis thing comes open. Another guy with a good relationship with Ollie for as far as we know. But like, it feels like Albert's a little bit further along in this having been a trajectory that he was on. And I think it makes a lot of sense if he's hired now.
I'm just now thinking of this. Would Albert be the best player ever to be a manager?
So like Pete Rose, you know what
that
I mean?
was
Like,
the first name that popped in my head. Is he better than Pete Rose? Like as a player?
Yes,
like,
he was better player than Pete Rose.
Okay.
Even, the counting stats of Pete Rose are what they are, but they're also like longevity based. You know what I mean? Albert Pujols, the list is very short of the history of baseball. How many hitters are better than, position players better than Albert Pujols?
Yeah.
I might not have any names on my list. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in the right era to be biased toward that guy. And then I got to cover him for a year. So that he's as good as anybody I ever saw. And so, yeah, it's rare to see a player of that caliber then want to say, I love this game enough that I can't get away from it. I want to manage.
Yeah.
Dude, manager is not a glorified position.
Nope.
It's more glorified than bench coach, but like and he's of that caliber where he's not going to have to do something else first. People go, don't hire a manager with no experience. I honestly, if it's the right guy, he'll learn along the way. There'll be things that he doesn't know today that he'll know in 5 years in the role. But like, I think he's a long-time big league manager in waiting. You're not going to make that guy be a bench coach because some team will go, he'll learn on the job. It'll be fine. How hard can it be? Like, yes, we want him as part of our organization. So he's of a caliber of player that he's not going to have to do the grunt work job first. If you're a player, no offense to the names I'm about to bring up, but if you're a Skip Schumacher, if you're a Daniel Descalso, if you're, if you're of that tier where like you had a good big league career, but when they tell you it's time to stop playing because you aren't getting contract offers and you can get into coaching, you work your way up and you become a great manager. I think those two are future MLB managers.
Right.
But Albert is Albert. Yachty is Yachty. If they're going to have that role, it's going to be jumping right into it. And that's fine. There's been a lot of guys that have gone from player to manager, but not many of Albert Pujols' resume. I would agree with your take on that.
And I would be okay with it more so than like, say, like say Michael Jordan going and trying to coach a team. That's a little different
in hoops,
like in hoops, because
he played baseball too.
Wow. That also I don't think would go well.
Michael Jordan, but there's 8 managerial openings in MLB. Can Michael Jordan land a big league manager job this cycle?
Yeah, I think this can go better because I just think the manager's position is so unique. You're not necessarily coaching them how to play the game or talking strategy or things like there's a few strategical things that you can do, but it's not like you have to have that be passed down to your players. No, you just put your players in the correct position and there's a strategy based upon all of that. But the technical side of or mechanics of playing the game are usually handled by other folks. And mostly your job is to just keep everybody together, keep the clubhouse lively and everything like that, and go from there.
Of the 4 sports, and I think managers matter, but don't they matter the least? It's football coach at number 1, probably basketball number 2, hockey number 3, baseball number 4.
Yeah.
Manager. Like, it matters. Believe me, it matters.
No, but it matters in a different sense, right?
Yeah.
To the fact
it's
where
more like the culture and like
Exactly.
the season-long grind.
It's not
more
meaningless
so than, like,
by any means. But
when Brian Dable starts the wrong quarterback, there's like momentary, the bullpen usage stuff that managers take flack for is usually overblown. But like an NFL coach can do the wrong thing on a Sunday and like maybe should lose his job for it.
Yeah.
Manager's not quite to that level. It's a little bit of a different feel.
Let's quickly get to Steve on the KTGR hotline here. Steve, what you got, my friend?
Yes, I heard you talking about Albert in relation to being the best former player to be a manager. I still think you have to consider the last guy to hit 400 in there too, Ted Williams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was trying to rack my brain as to like where because we just don't often see it, right? Of in the manager spots, the best players to ever do this, sometimes they just leave it at that and they don't come back into the game as that role, save for guys like Ted Williams and like Pete Rose and others like that. Now, that'd be an interesting conversation, Ted Williams versus Albert Pujols. I don't know. I mean, put their stats side by side.
Different eras. And so like just
So
the
tough.
elite of the elite in their respective eras for sure.
So tough to try and compare them. But yeah, it would be a very, in that sense, a unique hire, but not one that would surprise me because again, as we know, Albert and what
the writing has been on the wall and like others probably want it. As example of a Matt Holliday, who's like, I like to get into coaching, but then he agrees to be the bench coach and then realizes, oh my gosh, I have all this money. I don't need to be the bench coach. No. Yeah. So like, that's just one of those deals where you kind of, that's why you don't often see it, I think, with the elite players that had careers like Albert.
Albert Pujols potentially could be the manager of the Angels. Seems to be a lot of smoke around that idea. Call or text us with what you think about it, 875-KTGR. And stay with us. We'll get more of your calls and texts in after this live local sports center.
Now, your local sports center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Jones. This live local sports center is with Lee's Tire Company. That's round and rubber Lee's Self. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Missouri announcing today that its senior night game against Mississippi State on November 15th is a sellout. Only Mizzou's game this season against Texas A&M remains with tickets yet to be sold. Mizzou could make it 20 in a row in 2 consecutive seasons full of capacity attendance if they could sell out that Texas A&M game. Missouri won 39-20 in last year's game in Starkville, but Mississippi State off to a strong 4-1 start this year. The current streak is a program record. Michael Dana and Christian Fulton both listed as questionable. Chiefs' initial injury report, they're getting set for a Monday night game against Jacksonville. Chiefs got back to 500 on Sunday with a win over the Baltimore Ravens. A report from The Athletic says Albert Pujols, the former St. Louis Cardinal, is being considered future manager of the Los Angeles Angels. Speaking of manager, yesterday, Chaim Bloom in his introductory press conference as president of baseball operations announced that Ollie Marmol will stay as the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. Up next, your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a clear night as temperatures drop down to about 64. It's mild in the morning, but high temperatures get back into the upper 80s tomorrow with partly to mostly sunny skies. Friday is mild in the morning. We'll start out near 65. It's going to be a hot afternoon as we'll see highs up to near 88. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Truman the Tiger. M-I-Z. Marching Mizzou. And of course,
To the house! To the house!
the traditions of Mizzou football live here. Join us next Saturday. The Tigers take on the Crimson Tide at Faroe Field. Our coverage begins at 9 a.m. on your home for Mizzou football.
We are
Mid-Missouri's total sports station, KTGR.
Hey, it's Andy and Brenden back for Underdog Fantasy, where you can select entries and win money on your football predictions right now in Missouri. Andy, we're in full swing with football season, and I know you're having a blast on Underdog.
Yeah, Brenden, getting set for the Thursday night game here, trying to look at who I think might be getting the most receiving yards in this game. I don't know if he'll get the most receiving yards, but I like the projection here for Devontae Adams. It's at 54.5 receiving yards, so I like higher for him. And I'm pairing that with some postseason baseball tonight, Brenden. Yoshi Yamamoto going to have higher than 6.5 strikeouts tonight for the Dodgers.
And that's what's great about Underdog. If you're a fan of multiple sports, you can do that to build your entries, especially in a crossover month like October with so much going on. And of course, if you get your entries right on Underdog, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So download the app today. Sign up with promo code KTGR to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code KTGR. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
You've already met a few members of the Family Pawn family. Now it's time to meet the newest one. Family Pawn's South Columbia location is just off South Providence. And just like every Family Pawn, it's got a personality all its own. Different jewelry, different tools, different gadgets and gear. That's the beauty of the family. No two stores are exactly alike. So after you stop by your favorite, swing by South Columbia. It's your newest Family Pawn store to explore.
Rock your traditional pawn shop. Family Pawn.
This is Kim with Hearing Aid Consultants. For some, the thought of wearing a hearing device makes them feel old. In reality, improved hearing helps prevent accelerated aging. Untreated hearing loss not only can decrease your lifespan, but it can also lead to a faster decline in cognitive abilities and increase the likelihood of dementia. Come see us at Hearing Aid Consultants for your free hearing evaluation today. Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmaker Repair Lab in Jefferson City. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
If you're tired of the employee that flakes out on Fridays or uses 471 sick days, it's time to start recruiting at MidmoHires.com, where you'll find great local people looking to work for a great local company. At MidmoHires.com, once you post your open positions, potential employees can research the position and get in touch with you way faster than using those gigantic national job sites. If you're sick of people splitting before lunch on a Friday, check out MidmoHires.com. Great local companies hiring great local people. MidmoHires.com.
The warm scent of maple spiced coffee fills the air. And is that a hint of Caribbean rum? That must be Caldy's Coffee Highlander Grog Brewing, our decadent maple spiced blend that's won fans nationwide. Loved for how it smells and for how it makes you feel. Each cup brings back the comfort of a classic coffee morning. Cozy, nostalgic, maple spiced coffee. Shop Caldy'sCoffee.com for your bag today. Also available in pods.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
Hey, this is Jimmy with Pro Designs. And maybe you've heard, we're the vehicle wrap specialists. But branding your business doesn't stop there. At Pro Designs, we can wrap your walls, windows, even floors.
Go to ProDezigns.com.
Come see them at their locations in Eldon or Columbia off Rangeline Street and I-70.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
If it's Mizzou sports, it's happening here. Now, back to the big show on KTGR.
You can still call or text us here. Tell us who you think should be atop the SEC football tiers. 875-KTGR here on the big show. You can also text us letter grades for Mizzou football up to this point. After 5 games, they've been 5-0, but can't quite call them the best in the SEC yet, right? Like, not yet. Brendan's ready, but once they beat Alabama, to call them the best. I'll probably move them up to the top tier after that, but
if Mizzou beats Alabama and Vanderbilt beats Alabama, yeah, I'll probably have both of those teams in the top tier.
There you go.
Honestly,
Adam saying A&M is the best team in the league. I mean,
I can't dispute that. Like, I can't say he's definitively wrong.
Right. Win over Notre Dame is pretty impressive.
Beat Notre Dame, beat Auburn. Again, beat Auburn in a somewhat similar way to the way that Mizzou has beaten South Carolina and Kansas. They by fewer points and didn't score as well. And so Mike Elko was also having to kind of answer questions. We've seen this before with like Brian Kelly, the first questions about why your offense didn't do well in a game that they won.
Right.
I believe that was after the Florida game. Mike Elko was kind of kind of hinting earlier this week in his maybe it was the post-game press conference where people were asking maybe some more negative questions, and he was like, how come you guys don't ask about how we did this isn't, starts rattling off the positive statistics. He said, I don't want to sound like someone else, but what are we doing here?
Did he say someone else?
Talking about Brian Kelly,
yeah,
right? But
subtweet.
It's everybody's kind of a little bit tense right now when it comes to the teams that are underperforming. And that's what I'll say for Mizzou. There hasn't really been that. Defensively, maybe a little bit, but largely they've done enough. And like when the run defense is that darn good and that darn efficient, you can't really, there's nothing to say. So keep it up against Alabama. And we're talking about an all-time season at Mizzou, but you got to do it. The schedule's going to be tough to do it against, but it's there. It's available to you. If they can have a great bye week and then a great week of prep against Bama, you could be, we're less than 14 days away from potentially talking about this Mizzou team as truly one of the cream of the crop in the country this year.
Yeah,
if they can pull off this game.
It goes nuclear if that happens in a couple Saturdays from now.
The team that currently holds the best win in the conference and maybe the second best win, as we discussed, in the country.
Right.
If you beat them, I can't wait to see what that spread's going to be. Mizzou, Alabama.
I think it may
is there a
be,
look ahead line?
Maybe a look ahead line. I think maybe Alabama -6 was what it said at first.
Okay.
I don't know.
That feels right.
What that could change, like if they beat Vanderbilt this weekend, because that's not a pushover game, obviously. And so if you win that game, you probably get a little extra juice, probably push it more closer to a touchdown. To that point, like, hey, you know what? That just means Mizzou money line just got even more juice, right?
I don't mind Mizzou being an underdog, in any of these games, really, because I think they're good. Again, my stance has been that they're going to win the majority of them. And so if that ends up being accurate, yes, there are opportunities to come for the two best words in sports the rest of this season.
Plenty to come. However, be sure to get in on that Alabama one, I suppose, because after that, if they win it, then then it skyrockets as far as their ranking across the country. Thanks for joining us today. We'll have Play Fade Eliminate tomorrow. Much more college football and NFL talk tomorrow as well as we roll along. So be sure to join us at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And don't forget, you can catch Reds Dodgers tonight starting at 7:30 from ESPN Radio. He's Brenden. He's producer Billy. I'm Andy. We're done for now.
Sons of insects, I am Bart the Bedbug. But Bart the Bedbug stands